Alright guys, whole blue cord back again. This time it's going to be about the Sprinter van, and then what I wanted to talk about, and we've had this debate for a while, and you know, we'll go back through the van. Now, obviously I bought this van pretty much not really sight unseen, but I didn't see it run or drive or start, and I paid about $2,000 for it. It's a 2003, it's actually the Freightliner, and then I call it a Sprinter van, and it's also Mercedes. So those three things. But 2003, it's got 86,000 miles on it. Let me see if I can do that. 86,000. So not bad, you know, for a diesel engine. And it runs pretty good. You know, we've gone through the basic stuff. You know, got confidence in it. There was a point a week or two that I was down with the Jeep with the radiator, so I drove this every day and didn't really have any problems with it. It gets great gas mileage. That's what's the funny thing, diesel mileage, but probably getting the 20s around town. Pretty funny. It's slow, obviously. Small motor, 150 horsepower. Pretty reliable. You know, they're considered pretty reliable. But the big thing was, and we talked about this, you know, to drive it comfortably, is the air conditioning. So on this unit, the air, we did the little quickie, you know, the squirt can. Let me see, I got one right here, right? So didn't know what we were getting into, and all the components are there. This is going to take a little while. This is just my thought process on a vehicle that you don't know too much about, but at the same time you don't want to put a whole lot of money into it. Went ahead and got one of these, squirted a little bit into it. The compressor came on. We got some cool air for a little bit, but it didn't last, maybe about 6 hours. So that told me it had a pretty big leak, but it did tell me the compressor might be working. Obviously, the compressor cost on an air conditioning setup in a vehicle is a decent amount of money. So I thought about it for a while. You know, I went back and forth. Should I put the money into it? Should I not? It's miserable to drive without air conditioning. It was murder hot last 2 weeks, 95 every day, not fun. The windows don't really go up and down well, so I haven't fixed that correctly. So even with both windows down, it's just a really hot ride. I went ahead and, it's kind of a big job for me, and I probably could do it, but I went ahead and I shopped it out to a couple places, and I'll just throw you out some numbers, and it's basically it's going to cost me, with a new compressor, and it's debatable if that compressor's okay or not, but you know, 2003 van, it's probably original. I'm pretty sure it's original. So you're talking new compressor, and then obviously when you crack a system open, you want to do a dryer. A couple guys said it's possible the condenser's got a crack in. I read that online a little bit. Condensers are expensive. The fan does work, so that's one good thing. The TVX valve, you know, sometimes goes bad. That's another. I'm just going to add up here. That's the TVX, I think, was, I'd say there were 150. This is just looking up online. Now, when I went to it, I shopped at a couple places, and I actually shopped at a place that works on Sprinter vans because I wanted to check him out anyway. He's a really nice guy. He's local in town, very busy. Sprinter vans all over the place. 4 weeks, backed up 4 weeks. And he said it's going to be at least $800 for the compressor, $125 to the dryer, and then the TVX valve, you know, if you change the valve to $150. So if you add all that up, we're getting into the $1,000, obviously the $1,000 range right there, and that's not with Freon and vacuuming it down and labor. I mean, there's labor in that compressor. Now you can get this parts cheaper. I saw the compressor rock out for $300 or $275, and they make little kits. I'm outside, so you're going to hear all kinds of noise. Apologize. I have no way to put this van in the garage any place, so it's raining on me right now. I've been trying to do this video for 3 days. So in the end, you know, I added up the price of this, and that would just be air coming out of the vents. Now the other thing too is important is my vent controls, my HVAC controls, you know, those electronic controls in the dash, that's messed up too, and you're looking at least $300 to get that fixed. I don't think there's a new setup. If there is a new one, you're talking 3 times. So you could easily get $2,500 into this pretty quick. I did, as you guys know, I squirted some Freon in there. I did notice that I had some heat running all the time, and that heat valve was probably bad. I valved that off with a water valve, but that heat valve was another couple $100. So as you can tell, this is just going on and on. To fix these controllers, you know, your dashboard knobs and stuff, because all these knobs are messed up. They just turn and don't do anything. The temperature one is the important one, because I think it's I guess it'd be a rheostat in there. It's probably not commanding correctly, because I noticed I'd get some heat and then some cool and then some heat and then some cool. So instead of turning it all the way down, and usually you command, like, I think you command 60. Let me switch over, I'm left-handed, so I think you command 60 Fahrenheit if you've got that that knob all the way down cold. I'd say that is so loose and bad connection. And everything's electronic, so you're not having. It's not the old days where you had sliders and mechanical cables and all that. This is all electronic stuff, and this is all bad. So you're looking at that's another $300 right there. You know, it's adding up. And that would be me putting that in and no labor involved and all that. So we got into a big number here. And the problem I have with a big van like this is you only have vents out the front. That's good, but I don't think it's going to cool much in the back. And then I want to bring the cats and the dogs. And this is going to be like kind of my bug out van. I think I've talked about this. And that's, the bug out part of it. You know, you want to be able to have redundancy, and you want to be able to run the engine, not run the engine. So I guess what my compromise was, and some of this was financial, obviously. I'll go through that in a minute. But also, I do want to get this fixed. And someday when I have the time and the money and the patience, I'll probably rig around on this and get a compressor and a dryer and maybe just bypass this stuff here. Obviously, I bypassed the heater valve already, and just try to get cab air conditioner running, because obviously that would run with the engine running. So what I decided to do, and as you can tell, is I bought one of these OutEquip. They go above air conditioning units, and you install them above in the roof. So it's like a RV style heat and air unit, and it was $950. That's the important number right there. They got a pretty good review online. Now, obviously, these are, you know the story. It's kind of like that Vevor stuff. They send them out to a bunch of people, and it goes through YouTube like wildfire. Now everybody's got one, whatever. The price, not bad. You know, it is made in China, but it's 10,000 BTU cool, and I got the heat pump version, so I got another 4,500 BTU for heat. So I got heat and cool. I kind of like that, because if this part, say the motor doesn't run on the van or anything, you run this off a battery. Now this is 12 volt, so that's really important. Let's put that right here. This is a 12 volt setup. I went back and forth on the 12 volt deal. They do make a 24 volt, and obviously the higher the voltage, the less amperage. We all know that with power, with DC, but for now I'm going to stick with 12 volt. That way, if I run the motor, I can always charge. Say I run the Sprinter diesel motor, I can charge the battery, or batteries, right? Whatever I have in here to run this. Or if the motor's not running, I should have enough battery. I plan to have about 12 hours of reserve. Now, I bought it. Took a little while to ship. They kind of tell you it's free shipping in a few days, but they also don't tell you that they don't send it out for like a week. So I was kind of in a hurry to do it 2-3 weeks ago. It never got here on time. In fact, it was about 2 days late on the shipping. It comes from California. No big deal. Obviously now it's rained every day. I don't really want to cut a hole in the van. And I need help getting it on top. It's about 48 pounds, and it's kind of bulky. I'll flip the camera around a minute. We'll take a look at it. There's a million videos online about this and about the installation and how it works and everything. I'm not really going to go through all that. You basically, either you have an existing hole, or you cut a hole 14 by 9 or 14 by 14, and it just drops in from the top, and then you sandwich it to your ceiling. Now, obviously, I just got the metal ceiling high top. I don't have an RV style, but they give you some metal studs and stuff. We'll go through that. It seems like a pretty simple setup. I did run it in. I hooked it to a regular car battery, my old diehard battery, which I don't really like that battery. But okay, and so at 11. So I fully loaded it. So at 11 and a half volts, VDC, make sure I'm doing this right, VDC, I got 47 amps, so that'd be full load. And then on idle, I got 22 full load. And I was pretty impressed with that. That's doable with just a normal car battery. I'm just talking lead acid, cheap battery. Obviously, I'm going to go and look. You know, I'm looking to go for a lithium ion. You know, lithium ion battery. I'm going to stick with 12 volt. The smart thing to do on these vans is you can't go to 48 volt system, add a 48 volt alternator to the whole thing, but that's expensive. This way, I'm just using existing van equipment, you know, the alternator, the engine running, to do my charging. I'll probably go ahead and get a, you know, when I do the lithium ion battery, I'll go ahead and get a DC to DC charger, probably a 50 amp, and put that in to charge the lithium ion battery. So we'll get to that, but right now I just need to get the air in the vehicle, and I want to see how it does, especially in the cab and running, and I want to prove this out that this really works. I think the 10,000 BTU, I can't see that being a small van like this, and I'm bad about non-insulation, you know, obviously there's no insulation or anything, but that 10,000 BTU cool should be enough to keep it comfortable in here to drive around in, I would think. Besides the install and stuff. And then, like I said, yeah, I am going to someday spend some time working on the cab. I'm going to call it the cab, the Sprinter's air conditioning, but I just don't have the time or the patience and really the money to do all that, where I just spent the $950 there with free shipping. I did go ahead and run it in. Oh, I'm supposed to say a lot of ums. I tick somebody off by saying all the time, so I got to remind myself to say And yeah, I ran it in for about an hour on that battery, just to make sure, you know, with warranty purposes and stuff. I think they give you like a 3-day send it back warranty or something if you get cold feet. I don't, you know, it takes you a day to unpack it and everything. It came packed okay. You know, for the most part, one of the foam gaskets got pinched underneath the unit and it flattened it, and it's actually popped back up. But it's basically foam gaskets on top that keep the water out, and you got to caulk it and everything. So let's go ahead and flip the camera around, and I'll probably just pause in a second. But that's kind of the breakdown of the cost and where my thought was. So right now I'm into it again. I'm into it for $950. You know, I could sell it back. Say it doesn't work, or I get rid of the van, the motor blows up tomorrow. I'm sure I could sell it for something. Besides the van cost, you know, new tires. So I'm into the van for about $3,000 right now, and like I said, I'm pretty happy with how it's running. You know, when you get a vehicle like, you know, you get a vehicle off auction, you don't know what you're going to get into. So for $3,000, it's a pretty good piece of transportation. And I've got some big plans for it besides just bugging out and stuff, but we'll go into that. Let me get the camera turned around. Let me get my pen set up. And yeah, like I said, I don't know if you'll catch on camera, but I'm going to install it. I point up there, and I got the pointer where that little round spot is dead in the middle of the van, and then I'm gonna put it way up front. A lot of guys put it back here. I guess if you have the sleeping quarters back here, I don't see what's the purpose of cooling the back part of the van. I really want the front me cool driving, so I'm gonna put it up there. It's kind of pretty much centered out, so I'm not really worried about making a whole bunch of measurements and centering. I know that circle right there has got to be dead in the middle. So if I just measure out from there and cut my 14 by 9 or 14 by 10 hole, should be good. So that'll be it for the installation. Let me flip around. Let's hit the pause button. Yeah, and well, sorry this is taking a little long, but I want to go through all the details with it for the most part. So like I said, we hooked it up to the car battery. It's not that battery's not great. I'm charging it right now, but so even with a 30 amp load on it, it was 11.5. That's not bad, but I've got another lead acid battery I could use. And again, the lithium ion, you know, the iron phosphate batteries is the way to go. They're safe. I'm debating about either getting 2 100 amp batteries. I have redundancy. If one battery goes bad, I still got the other one. But then the 280 amp, and they've got some big ones there. 300 amp hour, 500 amp hour batteries. you're probably getting a better bang for your buck. They're all made in China. I know you guys are going to clobber me about that, but they've got a patent on the batteries. It's going to last another couple years, so legitimately they have that market right now. There's a couple companies claim their batteries are American, but they're still getting cells from China, so everything's made in China. But they're cheap, so for a few $100, a 100 amp hour battery, I think you can get for 150 bucks or 170 bucks. 2 of those would be 200 amp hours. I mean, that might be the way to go. And again, I'm going to rig it up. I've got some cable in here that's going to go from the alternator, well, from the battery of the Sprinter to the battery of the what I'm going to run off the AC unit. So I'm going to have direct charging that way. You know, with lead acid to lead acid, you really don't have to have a DC to DC controller or worry about overcharging or anything like that. You probably should have a battery isolator, and I think I might come up with a way to isolate it. I've got some pretty cool connections like they use for fork trucks, DC fork trucks and stuff. But for now, I'm just going to cable it up. That way I'll have two batteries. I actually have 2 batteries for your power, and then if I start the diesel motor up, I'm charging and replenishing the battery that I'm running off the AC back and forth, back and forth. So yeah, that's my plan right now, and that seems the simplest. I got this cable for free. You got to watch your cable, and I'll go through some of that with the installation. This is actually for marine and wet weather. I got kind of lucky on this, but it's rated. It's 4-gauge boat cable, 105 dry, 75 wet, oil resistant. It's all written right there. You got to watch if you get cable, especially these Chinese guys with like this cable here. There's no writing on it. You don't know what you're getting. I'm going to peel this back and look because I'm curious, but I got a feeling there's no rating to this. And this is 6-gauge. Well, it's 6-gauge according to the lug. I would go with 4 because there's a possibility they claim that it's an inverter rated unit, so it soft starts. It doesn't inrush as much as a normal unit would, but you could pull 60 amps on this. And that's pushing it on this length of cable. I don't know what this cable length is exactly, but I go by the American Boating and Yacht chart standards, and that's pushing it on 6-gauge. That's a good way to kind of look at when you're doing something DC, and we'll go into that when I do the install. But yeah, so I unpacked it, and this got pinched. It's come out a lot more, but it was dead flat, so they could do a little bit better on the packing. They come with some studs, and there's some metal brackets, so you actually pull it together with the studs and the metal. And yeah, like I said, it comes with a little cheap remote. If you recognize this remote, it's the same one on my cheap mini split in the garage. You know, cheap Chinese, so it doesn't work good. But the instructions not great. You know, honestly, there's like I said, there's 100 online videos, and a lot of them don't make sense because I think they've changed this model a little bit a couple times, so it doesn't really make sense how they install. But it's decent. It's got some pictures in it. It's in English, you know, that that helps. I think there was supposed to be a template for the drill out, but I can't find it. I looked in the box. There's supposed to be a cardboard template someplace. And I looked through this several times, and there's nothing. You know, a lot of times in the back they'll give you something cardboard template wise, but I didn't find anything about that. They give you a little instructions how it runs. It's plug and play. Once you wire it up, I went right, like I just had it right here. I went underneath there, set it to turbo mode, as low as it'll go, 63, and it was blowing out ice cold, moving moisture real good. I let it run about an hour on that battery, and I was a little surprised that battery went as long as it did. That Die Hard over there is not the best, like I said, best battery in the world. It won't charge much over 12.2 volts. I'm putting a little charge on it right now as we're talking, no big deal. But yeah, pretty excited. I think this is going to be my fix for no air conditioning in the van and on a budget. And also, like I said, you could run it without you could run it without the engine. With the engine, you know, you could sit. So if I had the dogs with me, we pull on the rest stop. I could leave the motor running, which on a diesel is not a big deal, or I could let it sit. And you could let it sit an hour and just, you know, cool on its own. Kind of a good redundant. I don't know if it's redundant, but it's flexible. You know, it's flexible with what you want to do. And then I can charge the batteries with the alternator. So that's where I'm at right now. You know, solar panels and this and that. We can get pretty complicated with this whole thing. It's coming, but for right now, just getting this going, that's where we're at. And minimal, I don't want to go too crazy on the budget. Because again, the van, it's quite, you know, there's always a question, how long is this going to go? Is the trans going to go? Is this going to go? Is the motor going to run? The injector's going to go bad. There's a few things on this van that are expensive to fix. And 2003, I've had a lot of people, they can't pull the codes or check codes on it because of the age. It's OBD2, but it's not really the modern OBD2, so there's not a lot of guys that got the software to do it anymore. So it's got some little things that kind of hold it back from working on it. But you know, other stuff, the suspension and the brakes and stuff are super cheap. So it just depends what breaks. But you just want to hope the electronics hold out on these older vehicles, you know. Yeah, and that's where we're at. So that's about a 20-minute video. I just wanted to, that's my solution for the van air conditioner. I'm pretty excited about it. I got, like I said, just cut the hole and get maybe 2 guys or 1 guy. Might just use a fork truck at work or something and just lift it up there and drop it in. It's not that heavy, but to go up on a ladder and carry that thing, I'm not really looking forward to it. You don't want to drop it. You don't want to drag it on the bottom. All the important stuff's hanging out of the bottom there, so it's not really made to be dragged. I could put it in the box maybe and drag it. I'm thinking about it as I'm talking, but yeah. So OutEquip Pro, $950. Yeah, we'll see how she goes. Well, thanks a lot, old blue cord. You'll see some videos about the car and stuff too. I'm working on the air conditioning as we speak and all that stuff, but on the car, and I'm gonna do traditional on that. So yeah, we'll see how this works out. Thanks a lot for looking. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or at least give me some likes, because that really helps the logarithm and stuff. And I'll keep trying to use a lot of ums and ahs in all my videos, because that triggered a couple people. But thanks again. Bye.